1 AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, welcome back to the show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Shalom Klein, and you are listening to Get Down to Business. Thrilled to be joined by a fantastic guest. First time on the program, Mike LaVista of Caxy Interactive. Welcome to Get Down to Business.
Hey, Shalom. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So, Mike, we're going to talk a little bit about the story behind Caxy, which is a fascinating one, and the story behind your team. But tell us a little bit about the work that you guys do in helping companies in Chicago and beyond.
Sure. I think at a high level, it's easiest to think about what we do is we make custom software and websites for businesses. Generally, we're solving a business process problem or a customer engagement problem using some kind of technology, whether that's web or mobile or some kind of behind-the-scenes system.
Absolutely, and we'll talk about some examples in just a moment. But once again, we're chatting with Michael LaVista, the CEO of Caxy Interactive, based right here in downtown Chicago. You guys do some interesting work, but one of the interesting things, and you just implied it a second ago regarding the sort of the software and the web platform, is a lot of companies don't necessarily realize what they need, the tools that they need to support their business until they've grown to the point that they needed it weeks and months and years ago. So, Mike, I want to talk about some of those examples of, and again, you could provide company names if you'd like, choose to leave them out if you prefer, but tell us a little bit about some of the solutions that you've created and what your building process is.
Sure. Well, you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of the times we end up in situations where companies have grown to a point where without really knowing it or without really being all that strategic about it, they might have 8 or 10 systems running their business, including, spreadsheets and, forms that people fax in. And they get to a point where they just can't get through the process of operating their business in a really effective way anymore, and they need some kind of technology solution to do it. A good example is we're working on some custom software for a company that does relocation of employees around the world. And so part of the relocation includes learning a language or buying a home or understanding how to buy groceries in a foreign country. And that was done by a number of different spreadsheets. And it's the point where if they were going to do any more throughput, they needed to build a system. And so we built a web-based system that not only they use, but it's an internal system to sort of solve that business process workflow problem that they've been experiencing.
Very interesting. So Caxy involved in some innovative and creative solutions for companies. And Mike, we know that there are many companies out there that have a simple website, and perhaps that's all that they need. They have a website that has their contact information, perhaps lists a phone number. Maybe it's basically a virtual trifold where they're putting up their services and things like that. But again, Caxy, what you're involved in is, and you and I have had this conversation offline, is a website that requires a login and has multiple tools, then that's where you step in.
That's exactly right. So if you think about it, like a normal website that you just go get information on, you click the About page, you pick services, all that sort of thing. But if you really want to engage your customers and you want to put some kind of empowerment in their hands, digital empowerment, it's going to require some kind of login and personalization. So for us, we talk about, we work on what's behind the login. So once I know that, we know that this is Shalom, then we can say things about his account. He can operate on his account. Or he might be able to interact with the tools to, interact with our business, whether it's buy something online or manage his portfolio or all that sort of thing. All those things happen behind the scenes, and that's really where the value of the kind of work we do comes into play.
Very interesting. So, again, we're chatting with Michael LaVista, the CEO of Caxy Interactive. Mike, everything that you've said so far sounds very, very technical and certainly very, very helpful to, I could think of so many businesses that I know are using systems like this, as well as so many other companies that, as you mentioned, have a lot of different databases, CRMs, all sorts of different tools, and perhaps needs to sort of bring them all together. But it sounds highly technical. Is there a way to make that process look clean on the front end? Because ultimately this is a website, whether the company is a tiny company and
right.
all they have is the basic website, or it's a big company, bottom line, you want it to look visually appealing, right?
Absolutely. And I think so for us, we look at approaching the problem from like a normal user or a normal business person's perspective and understanding what it is we're trying to solve. So if it's for an internal system and maybe the CEO realizes from my first example, we just can't get enough people trained in Chinese because of our lack of systems, we just approach it from their point of view and say, well, what would you need to do that better? Well, they say, well, it'd be great if we had a list of all the people we were working with and a list of all the people that, spoke Chinese in the right, city. And we said, great, we can make that. And so in a way, we don't want you to worry about or touch the technology. We just want to build a thing that makes sense for you to use. And so, that applies for, the normal, maybe an e-commerce website where we just want to make it make sense for the people who are buying the products, and they don't need to worry about any of the acronyms, CRMs and databases and SQL and all that sort of stuff. That should be out of sight from them, and all they should worry about is how to interact with the business.
Absolutely. And Mike, we're going to have to take a quick break in our conversation in just a moment, but we know that in this day and age, many viewers of websites, consumers of content and information are on their mobile devices, whether they're viewing information or certainly even employees of a company might be using the information on a mobile device. So the big thing right now is apps and all sorts of things like that. So does Caxy provide solutions for those needs as well?
We do, and I think when I talk to people about whether or not you might invest in mobile, think about if you think you'll have more mobile customers this year or next year, and I think you'd probably say next year, and probably say the same thing about the year after that. So the trend is going up, so investing in mobile is probably a smart thing to do for the foreseeable future. Absolutely.
Invest right now because the needs that will exist then, you don't want to be reactive, you want to be proactive, and I think if there's anything that I've learned from my conversations with Michael LaVista of Caxy Interactive, it's been exactly that. Let's try to be proactive, whether it's in business development strategies for your business or the tools and the platforms that you may need. So, Mike, we're gonna be back with you in just a moment, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about the history of Caxy and how you got started and the team behind all of these great services. We'll be back and get down to business in just a moment.
Psst, hey.